Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Some people are absolutely ungrateful. In our case, the beggar whom our OP met in the first story. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. You want more? You get nothing. A few months back, I was walking through the streets of Leiden, Netherlands. I was having a conversation with my friend when a guy who didn't speak Dutch came up to me and gave me a piece of paper which read, "Hello, I'm sorry to bother you, but I have 2 kids and no job. Would you have any money to donate?" Now, I usually turn down these people, but this time it was different. I pulled out my wallet, and with the feeling that I was doing something good, I pulled out a few coins and reached out my hand to give it to him. That was the moment he saw a 10-euro bill sitting in my wallet. As soon as he saw it, he started begging, "Please give me more. You have 10 euros. Give me 10. Give me 10. As soon as I realized what he was trying to say, my goodwill feeling went over into anger. I put the change back in my wallet and walked along, leaving the guy behind. He started screaming in some foreign language, which I can only assume weren't any blessings. I don't understand how some people can be so ungrateful. And our second story. Entitled mom ends up in court. Let me preface this by saying this happened a very long time ago, and while I could come to a reasonable approximation of the dialogue that surrounded this, I won't bother. I don't recall everything that was said, just some of the circumstances. Okay, first off, I'm a model railroader. Specifically, I model in O scale. For reference, that means that the average locomotive is about 3 to 4 inches tall and up to a foot long, depending on type, that is. One summer, I was taking part in a model railroad fair at our local mall where I was displaying some of my models. Being that I'm from the US, the fact that I modeled the British Isles, GWR for you Brit readers, mean that my display really stood out. Now, as there's always kids at these types of shows, I've taken to putting a plexiglass side around my layout to prevent children from reaching in and touching things or damaging various parts of the structures and models that went with the railroad. While I was watching one locomotive I just received leave the staging area, it's a small 3-track system that lets me funnel trains into the layout and then out as needed, I remembered this one lady making comments about the cute little trains. Getting that train running at a nice but slow pace, I approached her and smiled, asking if there's any questions she had. The lady never missed a beat, pointing to the train I'd just started and told me that her son liked trains and I should sell her one for him. Now, truth be known, this wasn't an uncommon thing to have happen. People, usually other modelers, may ask if some units are up for sale. Sometimes they are, but typically not. I explained to her that the locomotive wasn't for sale and that even if it was, she wouldn't have liked the price anyway, noting that the engine she was pointing to had cost me close to $1,000. The lady was having none of it and offered me $10 for it, since it was obviously a toy. I ignored her and went back to getting the next train set up on the staging track, waiting for that one to return. As I do this, I hear an odd sound and look up just in time to see the lady picking the locomotive up off the track and moving to hand it to her kid. I called out for her to stop, which may have been a mistake as she promptly dropped it on the ground. The engine, though somewhat robust and heavy, was made of rather soft brass. When it hit the ground, there was a sickening crunch. I knew from the sound that the engine was done for, broken beyond repair. The lady just looked down at it, shrugged, and kicked it back under the table before starting to walk off. Thankfully, security quickly caught up with her and detained her, while police were called. All the while, she kept saying, "It's just a toy. Men don't play with toys," while ignoring the fact that she was surrounded by dozens of train layouts with just as many grown men showing off their work. Police arrested her on destruction of private property charges, while the mall itself barred her from ever setting foot on their property again. Later, with her information on hand from the police report, I filed a case against her for the replacement of the locomotive. You won't believe it, but she had the gall to try to convince the judge that it was just a toy, and the receipts I had for purchase of the locomotive weren't real, saying that she'd seen the exact same locomotive at Walmart herself. Well, the case ended in my favor, with her having to pay me replacement costs as well as some punitive damages. The judge ended the case with a simple warning that just because you want something doesn't give you the right to simply take it. From the criminal side of things, I think the lady ended up with 40 or so hours of community service and a substantial fine as well. Here's hoping she learned her lesson. And our last story. Board VP just effed himself. I have a vacation property. It's cheap property. You can buy a lot for under $10,000, and the annual dues are $350 a year. That's run by a board and operates like an HOA. We don't call it an HOA, but for all intents and purposes, it is. I'd love to tell you all the horror I've experienced at the hands of the board. I refer to them as Satan spawn, but I'm currently suing, so I do need to be careful. But I figure I can share tales that don't directly involve me. On Friday, a board member or caretaker hand-delivered a letter to a resident telling him he had 24 hours to remove a small forklift from the community. It was stuck in the mud, and the caretaker actually spent the afternoon trying to help him dig it out to move it. He wanted to use the backhoe that belongs to the association, but the board VP said no. That evening, the police were in the neighborhood on an unrelated matter. They stopped and spoke with the man and ran his name. This is not unusual. The place has gone downhill fast recently. The man had a warrant for missing court and was arrested. Saturday, the VP decided since the man was gone, it'd be the perfect opportunity to call a tow company and have them remove the forklift. Since it was still stuck, he happily used the backhoe to pull it out for the tow truck driver. Sunday, the arresting officer was back for the original reason he'd come the day before. He noticed the forklift was gone. He spoke with a neighbor who witnessed the VP use the backhoe to pull it onto the road and the tow truck take it away. He took pictures of the ruts showing how it was removed, a statement from the witness who saw what happened, and documented that he had seen it the previous evening when the man was arrested. That documentation includes that the VP was on site and knew that the man had been arrested. He also documented that the VP would not allow the caretaker to use the backhoe to get it moved the day before, but use it himself to steal it from the property. The guy's going to be pissed when he gets out and finds out his forklift's gone, and he'll have the officer's report that shows that the VP trespassed on his property, used the backhoe to remove the forklift, and had it towed. Even though they'd given him a letter that said he had 24 hours to remove it, that doesn't give them the right to take it. There are other lots that have equipment sitting on them that have been there for years. There are no bylaws that say you can't have things on your property either. The VP just doesn't like the guy and seems to think he can do whatever the F he wants. He's called the police on a few people numerous times and has been told if he keeps harassing people, they'll arrest him. I'm tempted to pay the guy's bail just so I can be there to watch the crap show when he gets home to press charges on the VP for theft, trespassing, and harassment. Being that it's a holiday weekend, the VP would most likely sit in the county jail until Monday, waiting for a judge to set bail. Update. I spoke with another owner tonight. It's a very small town, and the reason the officer was there was to arrest the owner I spoke with tonight, who also happened to use the same bondsman as Guy. When he was bonding out, the bondsman asked if he knew Guy. I'm just going to call him Guy from now on, because they live in the same community, and told him the following. First of all, it's a minor offense, and the initial bail was $500, so Guy only had to put up $50 to get released, which he did through this particular bondsman. When the bondsman was notified he missed court, he alerted the sheriff's department that he was going to serve the warrant and arrest him as his usual policy. He then went to the community. It's gated, swipe key card, and the arm lifts. When he arrived, a car went through in front of him. He waited for the arm to drop, but it didn't, so he drove in and parked in front of the office. The lady in the office came out screaming at him as he parked. Her husband, the VP, followed. They were demanding to search his vehicle because they thought he was sneaking someone in. Yeah, that's a new thing they've been doing. Bondsman tried to show his ID and paperwork and explained why he was there, but VP wasn't having any of that and kept telling him to get the F out or he was going to call the cops. Bondsman said, "Please do call, and they'll tell you why he was there." VP was livid, calls 911, and reports there's a trespasser and he damaged the gate. He didn't. It's really slow because people are often towing an RV or toy hauler. Sheriff goes up and explains to VP that the bondsman is there legally to arrest someone, but VP keeps demanding that the bondsman be issued a trespass notice, In my state, you have to issue the notice and then the person can be arrested if they come back. This goes back and forth until the sheriff tells bondsman to go get his guy, he'll stay with VP. Guy wasn't home, so sheriff told VP when bondsman comes back to let him and leave him alone so he can do his job, and they left. It was a total coincidence that the officer was there and arrested Guy. Come to find out that VP basically thinks he's the king, more like Satan's spawn, and has pissed off the wrong people. I emailed the 911 center and asked for the call log so I have proof of what happened with bondsman. I was surprised to get a response so quick, but now I have the logs that back up the above to use in my case. The bondsman also told the other owner if VP gets arrested, he won't bond him out and neither will the other company. He'll have to use a non-local company. It'll take longer and be a pain in the butt for VP. Word is already out that VP is an a-hole, and the police are tired of his crap, which explains why the officer was so interested in the forklift being gone. I'm going to call bondsman in the morning to find out what the bail is and hopefully pay it so he can press charges on VP. While VP's an a-hole, the majority of the board is pretty bad and they let him do what he wants. Other owners have filed restraining orders on him because he's scary, mean, violent. The board lets him get away with it because he lives there, and they don't want to upset him. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.